Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a topic that is, honestly, a total game changer. It's not just for school, it's for your entire life. We're talking about self-regulated learning.
All right, let me ask you something, and be honest. Have you ever done this? You study for hours, maybe you even pull an all-nighter, you feel like you know absolutely everything, and then you get the exam back and, it's just a total gut punch. So what's going on there?
To get to the bottom of this, let's look at a story I'm going to call the all-nighter fail. It's a classic tale of when hard work just doesn't seem to pay off.
Okay, so let's meet Lisa. She's got this huge midterm in environmental studies. Her professor hands out a list of concepts and just says, you need to know these. Seems pretty straightforward, right? What could go wrong?
And Lisa, being a good student, gets right to work. I mean, she really puts in the time. We're talking 5 solid days of making flashcards, drilling the definitions over and over and over, until she can spit back every single one, word for word, perfectly.
So, exam day comes. She walks in there feeling like a rock star. I mean, why wouldn't she? She's put in the work, she knows this stuff cold, she's thinking, oh yeah, I've got this, I am totally ready. But then, she opens the exam booklet, and her stomach just drops. The questions, they aren't asking for definitions at all. They're these complicated scenarios asking her to apply the concepts. And all that memorization, suddenly, it feels completely useless. Panic mode activated.
And the result for all that hard work? A C+. Ouch. After all those hours, all that effort, just a C+. It's just a crushing feeling, and she's left wondering, what on earth did I do wrong?
So she goes to talk to her professor, and this is where it all clicks. The professor tells her, look, when I said know the concepts, I didn't just mean memorize the words. I meant understand how they connect to real-world problems. You know, like all those case studies we talked about in class, and boom, the light bulb goes on. So here's the real takeaway from Lisa's story. She didn't fail because she was lazy. She worked incredibly hard. The problem wasn't her effort, it was her strategy. She was working hard, but she wasn't working smart. She was missing a key skill.
And that skill is exactly what we're here to talk about. It's called self-regulated learning, and it's the difference between just being a student and being the architect of your own understanding.
So what the heck is it exactly? Well, at its core, self-regulated learning, or SRL, means you are in the driver's seat. You're not just a passenger. You are actively planning how you're going to learn, picking the right tools for the job, checking in on your own progress, and, this is key, changing course when you realize something isn't working.
And this comparison here really lays it all out. A novice learner thinks, more hours equals a better grade. But a self-regulating learner asks, okay, but what did I actually learn in that time? A novice uses the same old steady trick for everything. The self-regulator, though, they have a whole toolbox, and they pick the right tool for the specific task. It's a huge shift from just chasing the grade to focusing on the process of learning.
Okay, that sounds great, but how do you actually do it? Well, it's not magic, it's a process. Researchers have broken it down into a 4-phase cycle, and the keyword there is cycle. This isn't a one-and-done checklist, it's a continuous loop of improvement.
First, you have to understand the task. What are you really supposed to do? Then, you set goals and make a plan. Third, you actually do the work, the studying. And finally, and this is the secret sauce, you adapt. You reflect, you see what's working and what isn't, and you adjust. You might even realize you misunderstood the task and loop right back to phase 1. That's the process.
So let's apply this. Let's rewind the clock and see how Lisa could have totally won. If she had used this 4-phase cycle, how could she have turned that C+ into an A?
Okay, phase 1, task understanding. This is where it all went wrong for Lisa. She just assumed know meant memorize. A self-regulating Lisa would have tested that assumption. She could have asked a classmate, or even better, looked at the course learning objectives in the syllabus. Those are basically a cheat sheet for what the professor actually wants.
And because her task understanding was off, her goal was too. Her goal was to recall definitions. But with a better understanding, her goal would have been totally different. Something like, confidently explain how these concepts relate to the case studies from class. That's a much more powerful and accurate goal, right?
And that, in turn, changes phase 3, how you actually study. Lisa chose flashcards, which are great for memorization, but that was the wrong tool for this job.
For her new, better goal, a strategy like a concept map, where you draw out the connections between ideas, would have been perfect. It just shows your strategy must match your goal.
And finally, phase 4, adaptation. Lisa waited for the exam grade to get her feedback. Way too late. A self-regulating Lisa would have been monitoring herself during the process. After a day of studying, she would have stopped and asked, okay, can I actually use this concept to explain that case study from class? If the answer was no, she would have known right then that her strategy wasn't working and switched things up.
And that really is the heart of it all. Self-regulated learning puts you in control. This isn't about being born a good student. It's a set of skills that anyone can learn.
So, let's recap. First, SRL is a skill you can build, not some talent you're born with. It's about being strategic, not just being busy. It's all about that cycle. You plan, you monitor, and you adapt. And honestly, this is exactly what's expected of you at the university level and in pretty much any complex job.
And this is not just some academic trick. The ability to assess a task, create a smart plan, execute it, and then adjust based on feedback, that is one of the most valuable competencies you can build for your entire career. You're basically learning how to learn.
So I'll leave you with this to think about the next time you sit down to study or tackle a project. Are you just going through the motions, just doing the work, or are you actively directing your own learning and actually learning from the work you do? Because that little shift in perspective, it makes all the difference in the world.